One of the other features about the NX-200 is that by using the J foot, we have selected stitches on the machine that are specifically for patchwork piecing. 33 will give you 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the J foot, and you can notice that the needle is positioned 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the J foot. By choosing stitch 34, and maybe because I'm left-handed, I can actually put my fabric along the edge of the J foot on the left-hand side, and that will give me 1/4 of an inch as well. I remove my J foot. I'm going to actually use the 1/4 inch foot that came with the machine and attach that to the machine. Now when you turn this machine on, it defaults to 00 stitch. So if you are going to use the 1/4 inch foot, you need to make sure that you choose 01 before you start sewing. Otherwise you will smash your needle onto the foot. Taking the fabric, line it up with the edge of the 1/4 inch foot. This part of it, not the back part of it. So making sure that the front part here is lined up. Lower the needle. Most people, when they're piecing, you'll find that they actually won't use the back stitch function. They won't lock off at all. So you'll notice that I don't have my automatic reverse switched on, but I do have my needle up and down. So I've actually set my needle in the down position. When you finish sewing, raise the needle, release the fabric and trim the threads. And you'll see there that I actually have a 1/4 inch seam all the way down. One of the other features on the machine is that there's a mock quilting stitch. A mock quilting stitch is designed to look like you've hand stitched the quilt. For the mock quilting, you place your clear thread in the top, in the needle, and in the bobbin you would place coloured thread. You would adjust your tension to about 7 or 8, and what that does is pull up the bobbin thread and make it look like one clear stitch, one coloured thread on the top of your quilt, which makes it look like you've hand quilted it. That's another feature. There's also 2 quilting appliques that are in the machine that are specifically designed for quilting applique. I'm now going to demonstrate the walking foot. So I'll remove the 1/4 inch foot, but I also need to remove the foot holder. So take your screwdriver and unscrew the screw at the back. Do not remove it completely, just loosen it enough to take your foot holder out. Our quilting foot goes on to the actual bar, not the foot holder. So place that on there and do the screw up quite tightly. This foot's designed for you to move the fabric and do free motion, like stippling or drawing with thread. So you can use it in a quilt project, or you could use it in a art project as well. Turn the machine around, and at the back you'll find that the feed dogs drop here. The feed dogs are these little feet here that feed your fabric. So because we're going to move the fabric to draw with it or to stipple with it, I'm actually going to lower the feet so that I have no feed on the fabric whatsoever. Pop your fabric underneath, lower the foot. I always like to bring up my bobbin thread from the bottom so that I'm working with it in the top of the fabric, purely so that it doesn't get all tangled up at the back. I also set my needle in the down position so that when I finish sewing, my needle is in the down position. I'm going to slow this machine down a little bit, because the faster I move the fabric, the faster I have to have the speed going. The slower you move, the slower you need to move the fabric. So take your fabric. There's lots of things that you can purchase, like gloves, quilting gloves and stuff like that, to make it a bit easier. So I'm actually drawing with the actual machine. As you can see, I'm creating the stitch length by moving it. So you can see that when we stop, that my needle's staying down, and that's where we want it to be when we're doing this stippling. Press the needle up to raise your needle, lift up your foot and release the fabric. So that's what we call stippling, but people do draw with it and paint with it like it's actually artwork. So now I'm going to explain the other foot that comes with the NX-200, and that's the walking foot. The walking foot is designed to use with the feed dogs in the up position on the machine, and then the walking foot has its own feed dogs to walk the top of the fabric. This is designed so that the top fabric and the bottom fabric move evenly through the machine as it's stitching. So we need to remove the quilting foot from the machine using the screwdriver, undo the screw, not completely like before, and release the foot. The walking foot gets screwed onto the bar exactly the same, except there's a little bar on the right hand side here that needs to be hooked onto the needle bar. So make sure that's hooked onto there, and then slide the walking foot onto the bar, take your screwdriver and do it up tightly. We'll also need to lift up the feed dogs. So turn the machine around and slide the bar back to the right hand side so that it lifts up the feed dogs. So all I need to do is needle up and down once, and that will actually raise the feed dogs. You can now see that they're actually quite raised. Place your fabric under the foot, and that will consist of your back fabric, your batting and your top fabric. And then what I would need to do is increase my stitch length. So highlight the stitch length bar and move that stitch length guide down to about 3, which is halfway. Lower the foot on the machine, hold your fabric and let the walking foot do the job it's supposed to do. Making sure that we've got our needle set in the down position, because we will need to pivot at the corners. You'll also notice that I don't have my speed control on full speed. It's inappropriate to have it on full speed with the walking foot on, and you will actually get better stitch quality by going a little bit slower. Now if I wanted to pivot, as you can see my needle's down, lift up the foot, turn the fabric. Once you're finished quilting, raise the needle and release the fabric from the machine and trim the threads. As you can see, I have no puckering around the edge of my stitches. Had I not used the walking foot, even though we have 3 different stitch lengths here, it may have puckered around the edge because the top fabric would not have been feeding equally.